Welcome to the Den, the Dark Entertainment Network. I am the Gothic Rose, and this is a channel where the news meets conspiracy theories. It makes babies in my brain, and it comes out my mouth. If this is your type of content, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and hit that bell, because I am not going to stop. Welcome back, dear fiends of the Den. I am here with more Epstein, more saga, more cover up. There is so much, but first, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched my video and liked it, which was one of my most watched and most liked shorts, where I'm talking about my severe stress. And you can see my eyes are completely puffy and red. I have a weird symptom when I'm too stressed. My eyes just, I don't know, explode into these big red puffy golf balls. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who offered support. I do feel it, and this has gone down. Now let's talk about someone else's problems for a minute, and that would be, well, it seems like it actually might be Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's victims that have the problems, because it's getting shady up in the government. Let's talk about this. In yesterday's episode, I made reference to Mark Epstein during his BBC Newsnight interview on July 28th, 2025, and he says, quote, "In the 2016 election, Giuffre told me that if he said what he knew about the candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. He didn't specify what his brother allegedly knew, nor did he name the individuals involved. However, he emphasized that Giuffre claimed to have dirt on people powerful enough to derail the entire presidential race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Mark also reiterated his belief that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in prison and expressed concern over the lack of transparency surrounding his death." Here we have a very strange orange blob caught on camera at the Brooklyn Detention Center the day that Jeffrey Epstein allegedly took his life. What we have are a couple of theories about this, and these theories are as follows. So the orange blob in this missing 2 minutes and 53 seconds. So the grainy surveillance footage from the MCC Manhattan, an orange figure ascends the stairwell towards Epstein's cell. So the DOJ says it was a guard with linens, but the guards wear dark colors. I think it's dark blue. So forensic analysis says it looks like an inmate, which would make sense in an orange jumpsuit. 1 minute of footage, that footage is missing. So the metadata shows that it was screen recorded and edited later that year. And somewhere in that gap, there was a whole narrative that was fixed. So this is now, the Hollywood fixers have become now the government fixers. And they're trying to control what information about Epstein is coming out. And Ghislaine Maxwell's demand for immunity to name names, Trump's cryptic comments about pardons, all of her Supreme Court appeals. Do you know what this led to? It led to her getting a better deal. Just so you all know, Ghislaine Maxwell was quietly moved from FCI Tallahassee to federal prison Camp Bryan in Texas, a minimum security facility with dorm-style housing. And this is with all of her DOJ meetings, congressional subpoenas, committee on August 11th. She's demanding immunity or clemency to speak freely. And then her legal team is also petitioning the Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. But what does she know about this missing 2 minutes and 53 seconds? That is 1 minute of that particular footage that I just showed you of what looks like a prisoner walking away. So I went back to do a little digging on Nicholas Tartaglione because what they are saying is that there was a mysterious third person seen in that footage. So there would have been two guards, but there was a third person around. So I did a little digging that day, and we know that Nicholas Tartaglione was Epstein's cellmate, and he was convicted in sentenced in June of 2024 to four consecutive life sentences for a 2016 quadruple murder. One of them included using a zip tie to strangle one of his victims. So I went to see if there was any court activity, and there's no public record of him appearing in court in August of 2025. And his case hasn't had any updates since February of 2025. But let's go back and check if he was in court the day that Epstein met his untimely demise. And again, the answer is no, there is no public record confirming that Nicholas Tartaglione was in court on the day Jeffrey Epstein passed, August 10th, 2019, but he was incarcerated at MCC Manhattan at the time and had previously been Epstein's cellmate, but his court appearances around that date are not documented and they are not available. But it is worth noting that Nicholas Tartaglione had been questioned by authorities about Epstein's earlier injuries in July of 2019 following an alleged suicide attempt. And Tartaglione's attorney claimed that Nicholas had saved Epstein's life during that incident and denied any involvement in harming him. Now, the absence of this court record on August 10th doesn't rule out private legal meetings or sealed proceedings, but officially he was not scheduled for any court appearances that day. But was he around at that time? We don't know. Was he that mysterious third person? These are questions I cannot answer, but I have to look into. From TikTok, I was talking about how everything is leading back to trafficking, particularly with Virginia Giuffre, and we've heard that her family is just outraged, speaking about how they were shocked hearing Trump invoke her name and saying she was stolen and asking if he was aware of what was happening. So from Snow Art Zone, he has a private plane, traveled the world, collecting underage girls for his beauty pageants. He's the definition of a child trafficker. And from Necromancer, it says, you have to understand how this worked. Epstein was in charge of the official parties where literally thousands of people went. Maxwell is the one with the real list. She is the one traveling, booking, and noting preferences. That's why she is still alive, and they don't have that list. And they know if she dies, the list will go live. So, this is a really interesting statement to hear, as she's just been transferred to a minimum security prison in Texas. I'm trying to tie together as much as I can, but I did get another small clue that helped me date back Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's relationship to at least 1985. And I got this information from a very credible source. Thank you so very much. And that would actually help to date Pam Bondi to be roughly 15 to 16 years old, depending on which part of the year she was born in, which would make it credible that she could have been one of these girls Virginia Giuffre's age. And Virginia Giuffre spent her life fighting against Epstein and Maxwell, who she said was much worse. She was the worst predator, and now she's been moved. She's been granted a favor of a nicer prison. I believe she's going to get clemency or a pardon somehow to keep this hidden, and we have to keep this in the news because this is not how you run things. Let me know what you think, and thank you for joining me on this episode in the Den. If you've got something to say, send me an email at welcome to the den podcast at gmail.com.